I'm Chris Alexander. I'm the editor of Fangoria magazine and the director of Blood for Irina and the Queen of Blood. And it is my honor and privilege and pleasure to be able to stand here before you today, presumably in your living room or a place of comfort, and present to you Duccio Tessari's 1970 thriller, The Death Occurred Last Night. One of the most interesting films of its ilk, in the sense that it is neither giallo film or poliziotteschi, although it is kind of both and has elements of both. It kind of floats in this ether, this orbit between the two subgenres, has elements of both, and yet again is its own animal. It is uniquely a Tessari film, and Tessari is not really a household name when it comes to Italian filmmakers. He's not Sergio Martino, he's not Umberto Lenzi, and he's definitely not Dario Argento. What I think makes Tessari's movies interesting, and not just his gialli-esque thrillers like Bloodstained Butterfly, but his Ringo films, his westerns, whatever he dabbled in genre-wise, what I think made him so interesting as a filmmaker working in narrative fiction filmmaking is that he wet his beak in documentaries. So there's a certain kind of urgency to this film and to all his work, especially in this movie, because, listen, most gialli films are not driven by narrative logic. They're driven by abstract. They're driven by a certain dichotomy between audio and visual to create more a mood and an atmospheric, visceral response to the picture as opposed to an intellectual one. Whereas this one kind of forgoes all that and has a very immediate, urgent style where it draws you right into the mystery, right into the central drama of the film. It is driven by its characters, especially by the actor playing the father, Raffaelloni, who's he's got this haunted, weighted look to his eyes, which is totally appropriate for this character. If you've seen the film, even if you haven't, the movie is really about a father whose daughter, who is absolutely absurdly gorgeous and yet has the psychology of a 3-year-old, goes missing. And it is presumed that she is kidnapped into a prostitution ring. And it's how this father, in many respects, is kind of the prototype for the Paul Schrader movie Hardcore. This father kind of has to, he teams up with the cops, so that's a little bit different than Hardcore, but together they go deep into the underbelly to find her, and the results are not happy. It's not a happy movie. You don't walk out of this movie whistling a happy tune. You don't feel good. You don't feel energized by it like you would an Argento movie, because it's based in the real world as opposed to the abstract world that Argento's movies take place in. Also, there, as I mentioned, in a lot of the giallo films and even the poliziotteschi films, to some degree, there is either two influences at play. There's either a Coppola Godfather influence, or there is an Alfred Hitchcock influence. I think those are the two big primary thrusts of those genres. Here, I don't see that at all. I see something that is hard, edged, rough, dirty, and completely driven by that emotional core that a lot of these movies don't have. So I've always appreciated the movie on that level. It is produced by Artur Bronner, who, man, the credits are staggering. Look this man up. The list is long. It's a scroll. But he also produced, to me, two of the most interesting Jess Franco movies, She Killed in Ecstasy and Vampiros Lesbos, two signature Franco movies that also have this kind of urgency and immediacy to them. And I think maybe Bronner had some kind of influence in this movie as well. I could be wrong. Now, one of the reasons why this movie has never been a kind of a staple in the genre, it's never been really freely available outside of the gray market and some European overseas releases. But as far as its impact in North America, it's kind of been a C-list title, or one of those white whales that you really got to look for. But one of the reasons why it's been kind of debated as to its merits is the music. Now, there's no debating the Morricone music in the early Argento films or any of the other gialli films that he composed music for. There's no debating the power of Goblin or Simonetti in the Argento movies. But there is great debate about Gianni Ferrio's music in Death Occurred Last Night. And I'll tell you, the first time I saw it, I rejected it. From the get-go, as soon as the movie opens, the streetcar is careening through the streets. And this music is, and I think her name's Mina, and she's howling over the credits, and it's very bizarre, and it's almost comical. And I'm not talking about that kind of cool atonal weird jazz of the Morricone stuff. I'm talking about like really bombastic Italian music in your face that really doesn't draw you in, but kind of pushes you out. So I wasn't sure about it. And, there's the scene too where Valoni is telling the police about his daughter and about their kind of daily routines. And again, it's a ridiculous scene anyways, because here's this beautiful woman who looks like a supermodel who's supposed to be, mentally handicapped and have this mind of a 3-year-old, fumbling with her bra, and her breasts are gorgeous. Everything's perfect. Everything's manicured and beautiful. Lips are full. And here's the father fumbling with the bra with her, helping her with it. And here we got this insane Ferio music blasting over the scene, which makes it completely laughable. Upon first viewing, that is. Now, I've seen the movie a few times since. I've revisited it. And like a lot of these movies like a lot of movies, period, that end up becoming quasi-classics, there are things about them upon first viewing that you reject. But after accepting those elements and after revisiting them, you kind of embrace them as part of the fabric and character of the picture. And I think Ferio's music, in many respects, because it is so glaring and absurd, really does work for the movie and make it unique. It is a really, really intelligent movie, too, which, again, you don't use the word intelligent when it comes to a lot of these Italian thrillers. Certainly, aesthetically, they're brilliant. But, again, narrative, whatever. What's narrative? Who character? Who cares? Dialogue? Meh. But here, all those elements are in place. So it is a really, really gripping thriller. As I mentioned, it's very depressing as well. So don't go into this expecting to run out and go, yeah, movies. No, come out of this movie and feel like the world is a cesspool and an open sewer. That's pretty much what Desari is saying to you. But it is a really interesting movie. And if not my favorite Gialli film or my favorite Polizia Cecchi film, there's no other film in the canon quite like it. So it's really cool that Raro took the time to dust this one off and give it to you to put on your shelf and keep and watch and rewatch and share with other people who like this sort of thing. It's a secret club, friends. I'm a member. So sit back, relax, and enjoy and immerse yourself in the dark, gritty, rough, gripping, and bizarre The Death Occurred Last Night.